Hello, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. Thank you for checking me out. Today I'm getting over COVID. My quarantine actually ends tomorrow, so if you want to send me prayers or healing, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for people who do include me in their prayers, and I'd love to include you in my prayers. The just going to talk to you a little bit about collective consciousness today. I was thinking a lot about it again and about the life lessons that are occurring. We just had Women's Day yesterday, International Women's Day, and what I was thinking about is all this, the Me Too movement and all the things that have occurred pretty recently within ballpark of time, of what's going on in the history of, the world. It's just pretty recent, last couple of years, and how the, sacred feminine has really, come forward, and there's been a lot of, you know, talking about it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, I thought, and talk about it, because as we, I'll just say it this way, as we raise in vibrational frequency, these karmatic issues come up for us as a collective. When you have all these different, I think the number was 1 out of every 4 women have been raped, was the number that I remember hearing a long time ago. I don't know if that's still correct, but a lot of women certainly been mistreated by men over the years and collectively. And there's a lot of men that are certainly still have a negative point of view. I think that the yin and yang of the we have the different pingala, and we have the different vibrational frequencies, within the collective have, when we have that higher vibrational frequency happening, we're only as strong as the slowest train car in the caboose would be. For collectively, if we look at mankind as having chakras, that collectively would be, the first chakra would be positive, negative, yin yang, would be male, female. So as we raise up in vibrational level and consciousness, what we're seeing is these things occur that happen. So we're having all these things happen in also we're seeing like these racial issues that are coming up. Those are actually tied into the first chakra as well. Those base survival issues are all tied up in that, and we have to collectively heal, and collectively, we can't raise up in frequency as a collective mankind group until we go through those issues. And how is that? How does the healing happen? It happens with love, it happens with understanding, it happens with us talking about it, and these things are actually good to come out for people. I was thinking about, and as I said before in my last video, I'm into now 12th dimensional consciousness, and I've been seeing the what we'll call narrative shifts happening, and it got me a little bit upset, and I don't. I'll say this: I'm not channeling another, whatever. I'm not being a representative of like this galactic federation or whatever. I'm not like that. I'm me, you know, but I'm being in the 12th dimensional consciousness. I'm aware of these things. So I'm not saying I'm representing anyone else. And the only thing that I'm representing is the 12th dimensional consciousness that I have, that I'm relating, that I see that the narrative shifts. And I got upset before about them because what we're having is we're having them sway one way and then sway way the other way. So we're having like transgender men competing in sports, and then you're like, oh, and you can see that the one, it's like overcompensating for one way. And it's we need to find the middle, and the middle is so important, I think, for everybody to understand the balance. And when you find the balance in harmony, together with the male and female, then we can rise up, in frequency and vibration. So, it seems very obvious, but what happens is everybody's polarized because they have what's called a dualistic mindset, and the dualistic mindset is prevalent within 2D consciousness. So everything's black, white, everybody's Republican, Democrat, everybody's for vaccine, anti-vaccine. Like, it's all polarized, and that's indicative of a two-dimensional consciousness. Now, when you're dwelling within, the first chakra issues, then you're enveloped within a two-dimensional consciousness, and that's what we're seeing, the dynamic flow throughout society. Is we're it's coming out more because we're raising that frequency shift with meditation teachers and healers, and various light workers and different people within all different walks of life now are doing meditation. And during the lockdown they've been healing, and it's before the lockdown, and they've been meditating and doing yoga and all these great things. And then you have this separation, and that separation, though, unlike Dolores Cannon talking about different separations, what we're seeing is these narrative pushes. And what I'm calling a narrative push is like like shifts. So these kind of shifts that I see, and I'm not going to go into particulars, we're going to see certain ones, because it's all for the greater good in actuality. So we have to respect the different gender. Now, when I lived with the a Native American tribe, the Lenape Indians, up in the foothills and mountains of Pennsylvania for a number of years, I came back, and I would go for sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 days at a time, and I would come back, and people would see, and I had, in contact with, different females. I said, I have to say, I really respect females now. I really, this was a long time ago. I said, I really do, feel that, the feminine aspect of, women are so, it's sacred. And then, and people were just like, this is over 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And people like, wow, they were astonished. And I was just like, no, it's I got grounded into the the earth, and then I just felt like this is something that's so important to understand, and respect, women, and then women respecting men, and that's all so super important. Now, within that, we had the male dominated society. It's been that way for a long time in certain cultures, in this culture I'm in right now. And I think it's like we had so much, pushback. But now, in reality, what's happening is like in the workplace, most women are getting promoted quicker over men. In actuality, there's been studies done, and women are on par for jobs, are making the equivalent income, and in fact, they are getting more educated, and of course, women live longer. So it's now it's swinging, certainly the other way. And so what I'm saying is we just need balance and harmony within our society in general. So I thought I'd talk about that, about finding harmony, in your life, in your daily practice and everything you do. I've dealt with a lot of people, and when I deal with women as in my life all the time, they're like, wow, you really do respect me. Wow, you do. I don't feel like I need to have a man with me when I'm talking to you. You talk to me like a person. It's amazing sometimes when I hear that. I said, really? And they're like, yeah, I went to this other place and you know, they talked down to me, they treated me different. So, from my point of view, it's just like, I don't see it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So it's still happening. I understand it's still prevalent. Women are being put down all the time. But I think it's important to understand the sacred femininity of women, and that we need to find balance and harmony. Once we get past all these life lessons, because of like these Harvey Weinsteins and these kind of things are just going to keep coming up, and we're going to keep having these race issues. They're just going to keep happening. These other narratives, it's going to keep formulating until we can, we overcome it. And I will say this, like, if we look at the universe as filled with, these a galactic civilization, right? Because you and I both know that aliens exist, that whatever they are, right? People say demons, but to be within the celestial races, there's angels, all different things. So there's different high vibrational beings. We're not going to transcend. We're not going to get up higher vibration. We're not going to be there with those star families. We're not going to be there until we get past these embarrassing life lessons that we have to do as a collective group. We're not going to be able to, for instance, let's imagine that there were aliens, which they are. I mean, I've seen a UFO. I'm sure most people have these days. But let's say that there is a galactic civilization right out there, and they're looking at us and going, they can't even, they don't even respect women in the workplace, respect women, do this and that. Like, and they're having race, all this is like, how can they give us, this technology? How could they interface with us when it's like we're like dogs sniffing each other's butts? I mean, how else do you say it? So we need to, really work on these life lessons together as a group, collectively, and I'd feel remiss if I didn't talk about it. Just saw an article about that they found an ancient nuclear reactor that's 2 billion years old in Africa. So that was amazing. And I'm like, wow, there's this, place that they found it, they said, and they found uranium 238, and it was a certain, usually when it's found in meteorites or on the earth, it's a certain percentage, and this is a little bit left, so they were trying to figure out why. And it looked like somebody mined this area before, and that they had this kind of over a mile wide nuclear reactor in ancient times. So that's very interesting just thought I'd mention it. I like to talk about these things. There was on another website that talks about Mandela effects. He's called the Recall Vector, and he just talked about ice having these shoots that come off of it. When you freeze an ice cube, then it has a shoot that comes off. It's a Mandela effect. I thought that was very interesting. I've seen that as a couple years ago. I saw it before a little bit, but now that he's mentioning it, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a newer thing. And strangely enough, when I just stopped watching his video, I went on the internet, and then I saw a scientific article that just got published about ice. It's called Ice 19. There's this new ice that they're able to do in cold pressure, and they're calling it Ice 19. So if you're interested, I would Google that, or do an internet search. Not saying ever Google, but look up Ice 19 because it sounded very interesting. I was thinking about judgment a lot, coming from like a Christ consciousness point of view, and I looked up the word, judgment, and now it seemed to be, to me, it seems different because there's no E now in judgment, and that seemed different, and also as a Mandela effect. I remember looking at the word disappear as a Mandela effect, and I mentioned why these things happen, but sorry, I don't feel that well. And I remember seeing the word disappear, and I was thinking about how letters change out of words and they disappear, and how strange that is. I remember with the Mandela effect. And as I looked at the word disappear, it added a P. It was like it went from disappear to disappear with two P's. And now everybody knows the word disappear has two P's. But to me, it only had one P. And I remember looking at it and thinking that about Mandela effects and looking at words. And I'm saying it's so strange how the letters disappear or appear more in words. And then when that happened, I saw the two P's occur. So disappear, the word disappear, the letters appeared more instead of disappearing. So I thought that was very strange, so I'd mention it. And I did, in fact, talk about the Mandela effect before, and I explained, what the situation, has been occurring as part of 12th dimensional consciousness, which is a different, viewpoint. I invite everybody to try to, do that. But, through meditation and healing the inner trauma, once we get past all that inner trauma, then we could raise up in frequency. And again, I was thinking about doing a retreat or something like that. And I don't want to be remiss without saying something about the poor and the homeless. So I think it's important everybody watches this video, give something if you can this week to the poor. So they're, Feeding America is a great charity, and there's a lot of people. There's Covenant House that I always like to give to when I can. I think it's important that we all reach out and help other people, and that will help you. So, and you could do it like Jesus said, you don't have to go around saying, hey, I did this, hey, I did that, charity, but every little bit helps. So I think it's important. It'll help you karmatically, help your karma, to get better. And, if we all just give a little bit. Also, I do accept donations. If you ever want to send me anything on my website, victorhamza.com. But I wanted to talk about these, being that it's just Women's Day. And it's just so important because I'm seeing these from and I have to say, I have a 12th dimensional consciousness. The reason I mention it is because I could see the narrative shifts, and I'm seeing that this has come out. These things are coming out for a reason, and we need to move past these karmatic, like karmatic would be these things that are lowering our vibration, and they're going to keep, it's just going to keep coming up. You're just going to keep hearing stories about this guy went to, do this, and this men's and women's bathroom, and all these. We're going to keep hearing all these things. These things are just going to keep happening until we value the other sex, until we move to a harmonious place. When enough people are on a harmonious level, we're going to move past it collectively as a group. But we need to move past it. So, and the way, again, to move past it is with love and understanding. It sounds trite, but it's just something that's super and super important. And collectively, we're having that unconsciousness that's permeating everywhere in society. And what we have to be super, super careful of is not overcompensating. Again, it's being in balance and being harmonious. It's not overcompensating one way. It's not overcompensating the other way. We just have to find that middle. So I just thought I'd talk about that because it's just so. It really is important, and to be pulled into that 2D level all the time. We're just gonna keep getting these knee-jerk reactions. And I want people to get up to at least a fifth dimensional consciousness. I mean, is that asking too much? And that's why I want to do a retreat and have people come, and then I could just help people one at a time. If I do a video like this, maybe it helps more than one person. Maybe it's not doing anything. At least I'm getting this off my chest. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope I am saying things that make sense. That's important. Thanks again for tuning in, like, subscribe, share, as we say. I want to say I love you to everyone watching this, and to those trolls that like to put porn websites in my comments. Come on, can you stop that? Because I'm just gonna delete it. It just, I don't know why they want everybody to look at their sites. Maybe they're getting some money from it or something. But that's the antithesis of what I'm talking about. The viewing people as sexual objects is lowering our vibrational frequency. It's that all that what's the most common thing that everyone Googles is porn, and it's just like we're losing that sacredness when we start in that mindset. We're in the other mindset, and then that's lowering that frequency, and that's where the lower entities, they want to feed on that. They just like, yeah, let's, and their job is to just get that going, so they could feed on that negativity, and they're gonna keep drawing that in. And you don't realize when you're looking at that porn, it's just lowering the overall frequency of everybody. It always does. So we, when we raise ourselves up in frequency, we raise up everybody. And that's the way it works. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share. Namaste. Peace out, Cub Scouts. All right, bye-bye.